We're going to make models much cheaper. Then we photograph the models.
Enter the stars.
Fake newsreels.
Fake newsreels for the public. Then we photograph the models.
Fake newsreels.
Fake newsreels. Then we photograph the models.
Fake newsreels.
Fake newsreels for the
Baptist Endeavor Youth Crusade, 1966. I was here in New York. (1966). (1966). (1966).
And that was a scene from The Devil's Advocate. And in that scene that you're going to see next, Alex Cullen murders his wife and children. It was filmed at Trump's 66th floor penthouse.
1966.
I see a red door and I want to paint it black.
The red wall that we are all being surrounded by down at the Mexican border. Trump wants to paint it black, just like the song. And there's your Corona at the Super Bowl long before it ever was a threat in the Super Bowl commercial.
Behold, I send you out as sheep amidst the wolves.
Donald Trump is supposed to be here. Donald Trump is supposed to be here. Donald Trump is supposed to be here.
Revelation 18. Let me tell you about New York.
Let me guess.
Fallen is Babylon the Great. It has become a dwelling place of demons. And what happened to Babylon?
Thou mighty city, in 1 hour hast thy mighty judgment come, and the light of a single lamp shall shine in thee no more.
The light of the single lamp shall shine no more. Biblical prophecy, Babylon the Great.
A single lamp, a single lamp, a single lamp, a single lamp.
Why do we have to keep going? Because it needs to be clear, Mr. Cullen. You're standing there. You look down. There's the gun.
Trump Tower, 66th floor penthouse.
You kneeled down to pick it up?
It's not something you planned for.
Stop. Back up.
Donald Trump is supposed to be here.
Stop. Back up.
Donald Trump is supposed to be here. Donald Trump is supposed to be here. Donald Trump is supposed to be here.
You can't make this up. Would you allow a demonic murder scene like this to be filmed in your private home, forever etched in film history? Trump did.
Donald Trump was supposed to be here in my video. Business emergency. Probably Mark Zuckerman.
And so there you saw it. We're going to break down The Devil's Advocate and the song Painted Black by the Rolling Stones. And again, these were Trump's exact words about the red wall to paint it black. Here's the quote here. Lewandowski recalled that Trump told the group, "Let's paint it black." Speaking about the wall. It will be hotter so that you can climb, so you can't climb over the thing. Now, we're going to get into the character that portrays Trump in The Devil's Advocate, the man you saw in his 66th floor penthouse. And we have all the 66 synchronicities, the 66th floor penthouse. His mom, Keanu Reeves' mother, telling him that he was conceived in 1966 in New York. The closing credits to the song Painted Black was a 1966 song. Now, the lyrics of the song Painted Black talk about a red door. Let's look at those. Now I've got this Brave browser pulled up. This is pretty amazing browser. It's lightning fast. So I'm glad that I finally switched everything over. If you want, you can export your passwords and your bookmarks, of course, if you're already using another browser. It's pretty easy, and then import them into Brave. Don't feed the Google cookie monster anymore. That's what's killing the truth community and killing us. So this is it. The lyrics to this, or did the lyrics go? Talks about a red door. Let's blow this up. I see a red door and I want it to paint it painted black. The song Painted Black. No colors anymore. I want them to turn black. And as you saw, the border wall is turning a rusty red color. It is a doorway between our sins of our past and Babylon. What do I mean by the sins of our past? All of the CIA activity going on in Central and South America that has created the situation where people need to escape their misery. These places used to be very wealthy countries, and now they're trying to get through the red door, and Trump wants to paint it black. The lyrics say, I look inside myself and see my heart is black. I see my red door. I must have it painted black. Let's keep going with this montage.
I see a red door and I want to paint it black.
Now, this singer that you see here, her name is Her. H-E-R. She's performing with Missy Elliott. They did the Super Bowl commercial. A new take on the song Painted Black by the Rolling Stones, in which Her crashes through the red wall and paints it black, just like Trump said. They knew all of this was coming.
Behold, I send you out as sheep amidst the wolves.
Donald Trump is supposed to be. Donald Trump is supposed to be. Donald Trump is supposed to be.
Now, the man who plays Trump in this scene here, in Trump Tower, this is Alex Cullen in the film, and the actor is Craig T. Nelson. So what, Casey? What's wrong with Craig T. Nelson? This is Craig T. Nelson. He was born on 4/4/44. Do you think this is all in our heads now? These dates, the matrix, the construct, it is real. 4/4/44. This man was born, and that would be 88, which makes this scene make sense from the film, the scene of the towers. Which shine 88 xenon lights every year. Why? Because these edges are beveled, and each one of these columns has 8 sides. 8 and 8, 88. Now you understand that the reality that you perceive is not the deeper reality. There is a spiritual reality just behind the veil. This is what we're picking up on. The synchronicity of it all. Now, April 4th, 4/4, just so happened to be the date that these two buildings opened in 1973. 4/4. So now you understand that this film, releasing just a few years, 4 years before all this came down, is very significant. Now, notice the church in between. And we told you many times, about 5 years ago, we started talking about this, that what this really was a crucifixion ritual. And that the building stood for the twins, the two thieves at the cross. And that in the center was building 7, which 7 represents the Son of God. But that was money. And so that's the Antichrist, the church being the Christ. So you have this juxtaposition. You have the Antichrist being the building 7 and the Christ being the church. But this is even an illusion because the church is involved in money too. They've got all the angles covered so that you can try to believe in one thing, but you're still always going to be deceived until you shed it all away. You sell it all. And you pick up the real cross, which is a personal relationship outside of churches, outside of money, outside of all these things with the Most High and His Son. Look at this right here. They're just showing it to you. Exactly what we were talking about. Now, this guy, Alex Cullen, who plays the Trump character, he's a real estate agent, just like Trump. There's so much more to this. They basically describe Trump to a T. And the reason why he is having trouble beating the murder charges, the triple murder charges, is because Keanu Reeves is his lawyer. He represents him. And he accidentally took his bloody handprint and put it on the wall. Are you getting chills yet? The wall. 1998. Here we are, full circle. They already knew they were going to build this red wall and paint it black. There's something deeper to this. Now let's go back over here because I wanted to show you. We'll look at that later. I'll show you in the script where they talk about the wall and the red handprint. This guy, Craig T. Nelson. Now, let's keep going with this montage because there's much more to this. But before we do, Keanu Reeves says in this 1998 article, "Woe is not me," that in fact Trump was the one being depicted in The Devil's Advocate. This is unbelievable. Sometimes, this is a quote from Keanu Reeves, "Sometimes you take on things that your characters have," he explains, winding the scarf back around his neck. Kevin's life is going totally insane. That's the character he plays in Devil's Advocate. He's 32 years old. He's suddenly in New York City and representing the equivalent of Donald Trump, that's Alexander Cullen, on a triple homicide. He really has got a lot going on. I'm filming 18 hours a day. There's your 666. 18 hours a day, 6 plus 6 plus 6. Trying to do good work, keep my life going, and suddenly, like steam coming out of a pot from my ear. So he got this terrifying tinnitus episode while filming this. This is evil to the core. Now, let's keep going with this montage.
You kneeled down to pick it up?
It's not something you planned for.
Stop. Back up.
Donald Trump was supposed to be here.
Stop. Back up.
Donald Trump was supposed to be here. Donald Trump was supposed to be here. Donald Trump was supposed to be here.
And there's the penthouse. Now, this is all verifiable on IMDb. I'm not making this up. Actually filmed in the 66th floor. Donald Trump's penthouse.
Donald Trump was supposed to be here tonight, but in a business emergency. Probably Mark Zuckerman.
Now, this whole film centers around this child sex abuse case that happens in Florida. Here you can see the young girl pictured here. He's representing her against this sex abuser, and this is in Florida. The devil then asks Keanu Reeves, the gifted attorney who won 64 straight cases, to come to New York and select a jury. There's the Florida Gators. They're in the bar in Florida.
"64 straight convictions." What a number!
We want you to come to New York. Help us pick a jury.
Dump them. While you're at it, let's get rid of number 4, 6, and I'd say lose number 12.
So the devil asked Keanu Reeves, the gifted attorney who won 64 straight cases, to come to New York and select the jury, where he throws out jurors 4 and 6. 64, 46, mirror the year that Trump was born, 1946. This is his half-demon sister. She is involved in international trafficking, international trade.
Isabella Andreoli, International Trade and Customs, EC and G7.
And of course, there's fruit and chickens all throughout this, which we've already identified to be synonymous with children. There she is eating the piece of chicken. There's a bucket of chicken in the film that I didn't show here. This is the woman that plays Keanu Reeves' wife. They're decorating.
There's a very good possibility that I'm about to catch a triple homicide defendant who also happens to be one of the largest real estate developers in the city.
So this, of course, is the real estate developer who plays the Donald Trump character, and he's going to defend him. There's Trump Tower in the background as they're discussing with him the case. Now, the Apollo painting that's on the wall had not yet been placed over the fireplace, as we see in more recent photos of Trump Tower.
Someone older, more...
And Pacino would play also Roy Cohn, Trump's mentor. Here is a scene from Angels in America where Pacino would play Roy Cohn, Trump's mentor, just a few years after this film released. And it's The Devil and His Son. The story keeps repeating.
Powerful takes an interest. The most precious asset in life, I think, is the ability to be a good son.
So the script flips back and forth from Trump to Cohn. In this case, even standing across from...
hangs in my office.
Even standing across from Trump Tower. And I'm thinking that the triple homicide thing really is pointing towards Roy Cohn rather than Trump, because they flip-flop back and forth. Cohn was suspected of manslaughter when his yacht burned with the captain of the boat in it. And he got away with it because of the corruption. Nothing's changed. The corruption has stayed the same. We are told something's going to be done about the deep state and corruption and all these sealed indictments. But here we are at the end of the presidency. Where are the arrests? Where's Ghislaine Maxwell? Watch this next part. This is going to blow you away.
By the way, this picture hangs in my office directly next to a picture I treasure of the President and Mrs. Reagan. Two of my favorites.
Now, this is Roy Cohn. Trump was his protege, his attorney, and his mentor. Or this was Trump's mentor. Watch Roy Cohn's tongue. This was a trademark of his. His tongue would slither like a serpent. Watch Al Pacino's tongue.
Yeah.
Do you think they weren't channeling Roy Cohn in this film before Angels in America would ever even be conceived? Of course they were. And Cullen, the guy they're defending, Trump's character, even has an illegal immigrant housekeeper. Listen.
She doesn't have a green card, is why I ask. I would hate for her to get in trouble.
Here's some Greek key. Look at the Greek key across the top of your screen. The same Greek key we saw in all of Robert Maxwell's office. He was the father of Ghislaine Maxwell. There was a BBC film that was done about him, and there was Greek key all over his office. We decoded that. This is also an egg stains temple on the island, Little St. James. And curiously enough, this is all over the House chamber where the State of the Union is given. All over. Now, let's keep going with this. Now, Pacino, who plays the devil, has this sculpture in his office. Now, this is interesting because this is the basis of where the concept of a twin comes from. Okay, I want you to pause and just wrap your brain around this. The whole concept between the two buildings that we showed earlier in the decode all comes from this dimension of duality that we got stuck in, the tree of good and evil. It's actually dual trees. And as you look at this sculpture, understand that what you're actually looking at are two magnetic fields that cancel each other out, and that creates our time prison. That's why we're locked in these trees of good and evil. They're two magnetic fields. We cannot escape. We needed an intercessory. We needed a savior. And only the people who think on the right brain, the correct magnetic field, and understand that you need a Messiah are the ones that can escape the prison. Because if you think from your left brain, if you cast your neural net to the left side of your brain instead of the right, you will talk yourself out of the only way out through the narrow gate. Jesus Christ. Now I want you to look at this sculpture. and understand that the narrow gate is the very narrow portion between the two magnetic fields. And Christ, there's some kind of supernatural thing that happens when you accept Christ. You can slip through the slipstream here. You can squeeze between the two fields of duality, good and evil. But if you have so much ego and pride and vanity and jealousy, that prevents you from humbling yourself to know that you need something outside of this reality to be saved, which is Christ. I think we finally decoded what the tree of good and evil really, really is and why we need Christ. The apple or the fruit that was eaten was actually a magnetic field. It was a frame of reality, a dimension that locked us into this tree. Originally, we had a single tree of reality. It was called the tree of life. Eve ate of the fruit, which looks just like this magnetic field. If you look at all fruit, they're designed this way. Why? Because they fall from the tree. They fall from a tree that looks just like this too. The trunk going up and the branches going out, folding back down onto the root system that spreads out above and below. This is the ultimate truths about our reality. It's been hidden from you. We're in the last days. The knowledge has increased, and this is the knowledge. Now, basically every person at his law firm is a demon. Okay? They all like shapeshift and morph. Watch this. This is one of his demons, and look at her earring. It's the pedo spiral, which, by the way, is like falling down through a tree trunk, spiraling and twisting around. It is a gate. The problem is this gate that spirals down through to hell. Notice the dominant tree here in the sculpture is the one that is next to him, the spiral down to hell. Now, you can call this whatever you want. Some people are going, Casey, my mind is blown right now. How could anyone... You guys were dealing with supernatural entities. And for that, you need a supernatural decode to understand it. God is not just going to leave us to the wolves. He sends his people to help you understand the truth about this. And hopefully after many people see this show, they'll finally understand that there is a God. And there is a Son. And there is a way out. Look at this. So, the spiral, these trees grow up and twist around. And if you were water, for instance, in the ground coming up through a root system, it would appear like a spiral. Like this, like her earring. These are gates, all right? And this gate goes down to hell. You don't want to go down the toilet to hell. You want to go up through the narrow gate.
He's been a destructive force in the life.
I want you to listen to this part as Keanu Reeves describes, basically, Trump. Listen. As he's defending Alex Cullen, which is the Trump character.
He's been a destructive force in the lives of his stepchildren. He's been a terrible husband to all three of his wives. He's cheated the city, his partners, his employees. He's paid hundreds and thousands of dollars in penalties and fines.
There you go, right there. All in a nutshell. He never repents, never having to say, he never says he's sorry. Listen.
Over the years, I don't like him.
No strings! Freedom, baby, is never having to say you're sorry. Or your sister.
So freedom is never having to say you're sorry. We heard Trump say that. And then we get it even down to these inappropriate sexual references about his own daughter. Again, a Trump hallmark, Ivanka.
Or your sister. half-sister to be exact.
Surprise.
Some see she's ovulating right now.
Dad, why lawyers?
So then Keanu Reeves, he asks his dad, why the lawyers? Why lawyers? Why would Satan implant himself in the midst of lawyers? Listen.
Dad, why lawyers? Why the law?
Because the law, my boy, puts us into everything. It's the ultimate backstage pass, acquittal after acquittal after acquittal. It's the new priesthood, baby. Did you know there are more students in law school than there are until the stench of it reaches so high and far into heaven, it chokes the whole lot of them.
So it's war on heaven. Now for this next part, I'm going to read to you from the script the devil's own words, spoken by Al Pacino at the end of the movie, so that you can guard yourself against his lies and accusations. There's just documentation from IMDb that this was in fact filmed at Trump Tower. Amidst other very cryptic and evil buildings. There's a China scene as well. I think they had plans for China a long time ago. Here's Trump Tower. Alexander Cullen's apartment, 725 Fifth Avenue, East 56th Street. We looked at all of that. There's Trump Tower there. How did so many Christians become deceived by this man, who basically always was represented as the devil? I'll never know. Here's IMDb. Donald J. Trump's private residential multi-level apartment at Trump Tower was used as the character of Alex Cullen's home. This is from IMDb. I think what has happened is that this whole presidency has been one giant test. God testing his own people. Who will you choose as your leader? Who will you get behind? Who will you believe? Will you do what I tell you? You know, we already looked in the book of Judges, or was it Samuel? And it talked about I think Samuel was talking to God, and he was all upset because these people wanted a king. And God said, don't be upset. He goes, that just shows what they're about. They chose a king over me. Here's the quote from Lewandowski. This is Fox News. He's recalling comments that Trump said, let's paint it black, quoting the song from the Rolling Stones. We also know that Sympathy for the Devil plays at the Trump rallies. We know this. Many of you have already seen it. Let's read the devil's words for himself. Where did that go? Here. See how much quicker this browser is? Pretty amazing stuff. Let's go find. I had this pulled up before, but we're going to have to find it again. He just mocks God. Let's pull this up. And this is what you need to guard your heart against. Okay, this is where all this is headed. They're pre-programming us through film to not believe in God. lot of profanity here. I'll try to skip through that. You're God's special little creature. No, maybe it's true. Maybe God threw the dice once too often. Maybe he let us all down. Let me give you a little inside information about God. This is the devil speaking. God likes to watch. He's a prankster. Think about it. He gives man instincts. He gives you this extraordinary gift. And then what does he do? I swear, for his own amusement, his own private cosmic gag reel, he sets the rules in opposition. It's the goof of all time. Look but don't touch. Touch but don't taste. Taste but don't swallow. And while you're jumping from one foot to the next, what is he doing? He's laughing. He calls God a sadist, absentee landlord. Worship that? ? Never. Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. Is that it? Why not? I'm here on the ground with my nose in it since the whole thing began. I've nurtured every sensation man has been inspired to have. I cared about what he wanted, and I never judged him. Why? Because I never rejected him. In spite of all his imperfections, I'm a fan of man. I'm a humanist. Maybe the last humanist. Who in their right mind, Kevin, could possibly deny the 20th century was entirely mine? All of it, Kevin, all of it. Mine. I'm peaking, Kevin. It's my time now. This was 1998. It's our time. Anybody want a drink? So there is the accusation, the accuser himself, blaming everything that he created by bringing us into this tree, which is, he's the ruler of this tree. Remember, the Bible says Satan is the ruler of this world. He's talking about the tree of knowledge of good and evil. This is where the devil rules. And so, of course, we're stuck here. We don't see God the way we are supposed to be seeing him, and the devil's playing off of all that. He is the tempter. He is the one that caused all of this. God gave us a way out, and he gave us a very simple way to get out. He didn't ask us to do a bunch of stuff. He sent a Savior, and he said all you have to do is believe. But part of believing comes with responsibility to try and be better and not give in to the temptations of the devil. The film ends with Keanu Reeves, the devil's son, rejecting his father's proposition to rule with him and burden the Antichrist. Let me continue with this montage. Let me make sure we're connected first. We'll go on with this. Where's my... Oh, back here. I have no idea if I could be talking to myself this entire time. Apparently not. Okay. Let's keep going with this montage. Remember I told you that the press, spelt backwards, is serpent? This is the final scene of the film, and Keanu Reeves actually commits suicide to get out of this, family affair, because he is the devil's son, but he commits suicide, and this results in his sister, the one that you saw in the scene before, basically she disintegrates. And I was looking at the scene, I was going, why would she die? Because Keanu died. Well, if you want to really think about it, I wonder if the sister was really just the female aspect of the devil. Remember, the devil is a male and a female together. So so after Keanu died, there was really no purpose for her anymore. So she died too, because she was the female part that would be necessary to birth the Antichrist. And since Keanu was dead, she didn't really need to be there. Anyways, just after Keanu Reeves offs himself, he's teleported through the eye. Remember I told you that the eye is like a portal? Now you're starting to see that all this is true. And he gets teleported back to just before he made his first evil choice that initially put him on his path to evil. And that was that he was defending this child abuser who went on to kill a child later in the film. But instead, he walks out of the courtroom, and the reporter that you saw with the serpent press pass, SSERP, is serpent, press backwards. They like to use these mirrors. And the reporter offers to make him famous by writing a fake news story that glorifies him instead of demonizes him. See, he's whispering in his ear with a serpent press pass. Whispering in his ear. And then ultimately you really discover that this reporter is just another version of his father, the devil, playing to his vanity. The serp press devil. And now you know why sympathy for the devil plays at Trump's rallies and why all the Christians are just oblivious. They don't even get it because they've been deceived by their own ego. And finally, a couple things I missed were HER, she was in the wall. The painted black with Missy Elliott. Her name actually means having everything revealed, which is exactly what that showed us. It's Craig T. Nelson. Let's close that up. And this is Tony Gilroy, the screenwriter for the film Armageddon, which came out the next year after this. I want you to look at his birthday, and then I want you to look at how he depicted the towers in Armageddon 3 years before it happened. I wanted to show you in here too where they talk about the wall in the script of The Devil's Advocate, foreshadowing the wall. Here's the words of, they mention it 7 times. 7 times the word wall is mentioned in the script. Look at this. Unbelievable. I've seen the Eiffel Tower and I've seen the Taj Mahal. I've even been to China and I've seen the Great Wall. Okay? Let's keep going. There's a hole in the wall to the next room. I've spent 5 years listening to juries deliberate. This was Keanu Reeves speaking. I love it, but it's one thing to wear it and another to have it on your walls. I'm just trying to help. It's your walls. This was the woman that was putting the fruit on the mantle. She was helping Keanu Reeves' wife paint the walls green. And finally, the Trump character, Alexander Cullen, talks about the bloody handprint on the wall. There's a second print in blood. It's a partial of a hand on the wall next to the bodies. I have the keys. I called the cops from the house. I touched the GD wall. I panicked. I was panicked. We need 12 people who can see past all that. I touched the GD wall. I'd get in front of it fast. I panic. Is that a crime? So there you go. Lots of wall references in the film. There are 7. And finally, the last piece to this puzzle. This should nail it all down and bring it all home for anyone who's in denial. Dante's Inferno was used to promote The Devil's Advocate, the film. And it actually, if you go to the Wikipedia page for The Devil's Advocate, it says in there that on the website, the Devil's Advocate website, was this saying from Dante's Inferno: "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here." And in the middle, underneath the skull, you see Donald Trump. Donald. Too many synchronicities to be coincidence. They knew he was coming. Now, many of you have been on the channel and you've asked me over and over again, is Trump the Antichrist? I don't think so. Even after presenting all that I've presented to you today, I truly do not believe he is the Antichrist. But I believe the way this works in the spiritual realm is that you get iterations, foreshadowings, characters who basically slowly soften the spiritual world with evil, and then they bring in the Antichrist. So they're iterations of it, precursors, you might say. See if I left out any of these. I think that's it. Oh, can't leave this part out, because this also is very important. This is Missy Elliott and her, which means everything revealed. And I want you to look on Missy Elliott's costume, just like all the other people at the Super Bowl halftime show. They had this Greek key design, the meander it's called, Greek key, going down the center of her shirt, her costume, just like the dancers around Shakira and J-Lo. They have this Greek key. And remember I told you, and there are people like, oh, it's just an accident. No, it's a theme. Now you see the theme, because multiple people are wearing it. It's not an accident. Glad I didn't forget to tell you that, because it's a very big piece of the puzzle. Pepsi Zero, sugar-free Super Bowl commercial. They were born in the same month. More twinning references. There you go. Now the question is, are there still going to be people who don't get this and want to make excuses or just think that this is just all some kind of weird synchronicity? Well, that's between you and God. Okay? I can't, all I can do is bring you the information.
I was told we're here at 3.
Now this was weird. This is from the Newsbenders, 1968. And you heard him say, fake news reel. That was how he opened the show today, in case you missed it. Fake news reel. Now this is very interesting. This is 30 minutes long. It's a 1968 BBC production, and it's all about how they control this reality. They're basically like Wizards of Oz behind a veil, and they just create everything that we see in the news. It becomes our reality, and those who understand that are called crazy. We're called crazy because we don't believe what's seen on the news. Oh, but they can call, they can say other stuff is legit. But when you have a free mind and you think for yourself and you doubt things, you're called crazy. You don't believe what you read in a textbook, you're called crazy. Think about that for a second. How sinister that is. The squashing of free thought. To be able to think for yourself and doubt, have the right to doubt something that you've seen in print or on television. That's exactly where they want it. Because then they can control your thoughts. The worst kind of mind control ever. So I'll put links to some of these more important tabs in here. And we'll go in the chat just for 5 or 10 minutes. I want this video shared far and wide. This is the kind of video you'll see that it'll never hit 20 or 30,000 views, but it really should, because I just laid it all out. But then, again, all of this works to the glory of God, because when this video gets stuck at 6,000 or 7,000 views, you'll know that it's been suppressed. That's how it works. And then that should open people's eyes. The devil can't win. All right, so we had a couple trolls in here. I'll take care of those. All right. Get rid of Sean. That's called an ad hom attack. Are not allowed on this channel. If you're ever blocked by accident, just let me know. Send me an email at caseybrown1973 at gmail.com and I'll unblock you. Sometimes people are being sarcastic, and well, this is a very serious subject matter, you guys. Sarcasm in this case can actually work against people waking up. So if I have accidentally blocked you, just email me and I'll unblock you. Okay? But we don't have time for games. We don't have time for ad hom attacks. If you have something factual to talk about, let's bring it up. If I made a mistake, let me know. But just calling people shills and all this, not allowed on this channel. Okay, let's keep going. Thanks for all the encouragement. I appreciate you guys. You keep me going spiritually and with your love. I see all of your comments, all of them. Okay, so I guess Jeannie wants to be blocked. Never had a person ask to be blocked before. Everyone's saying the same thing about deceiving people, so that sounds to me like a bot. Okay, because how do all people say the same exact thing? Same exact ad hom attack. The Greek key is meander. It's the serpent. Break the chains. So you can, here, let me pull it up for you. Okay, Greek key. Man, this browser is fast. Okay, so this is called Greek key. This is the serpent. Okay, and what it's named after is a meandering river. Okay, this is in our House chambers when the State of the Union was given. Donald Trump was standing in front of the serpent, the Greek key, and they also call it meander, which is like the word meandering river came from this. Okay. The labyrinth, it's really what it is. It's the maze. You know, they had a maze in the film The Shining, and anytime you see anything demonic, there's always a maze. Well, a spiral is a rudimentary form of a maze. It's getting lost in the maze, the labyrinth. Okay? That's what this all is really about. The Greek key. The devil knows this. Here's a classical labyrinth. See, they show you the labyrinth and the maze. Getting lost in the serpent, wrapped in the serpent, squeezing you into submission. So that's what the Greek key. Hopefully that was helpful. All right, back in here. I like when the trolls pop their heads up because then I can bop them. You know, like in Chuck E. Cheese, where you got that hammer thing and things pop up and you got to bash them in the head. That's what we like to do here. So keep popping your heads up, you guys. All right. They changed the facade behind Al Pacino. Yeah, some of them were changed because it was too close to some artist. There was some scandal behind that. Too close to some artist, and he claimed copyright on it. Said you can't use that in a film without giving me credit. And some of the copies of that artwork behind Al Pacino was, in fact, changed. Absolutely. Okay. Yes, the birth canal is how we're born into this matrix. In fact, in the Bible, it actually calls the womb the matrix. We did a decode on the womb. I showed you how the musculature, the actual physical musculature of the woman's womb is a spiral pattern of muscles. And when a child is born in this world, they twist into a spiral down through the tree trunk of the birth canal. All of this stuff is real, you guys. That doesn't make women evil. We're all beasts in this realm. We're all monkeys in the tree, you could call it. Swinging around, trying to find our way out. We got reduced to beasts. Well, how can you say that, Casey? Well, what does the book of Genesis say about Adam? You will sweat. That's a different physiological function compared to what he was before. He changed. Something changed physiologically in Adam. He began to sweat. The Bible says you will sweat, and on the sweat of your brow you will till the fields. He then told Eve, you'll have birth pains. That was something new as well. When you give birth to children, we changed. We physiologically fell from a higher, whatever we were. Now, we weren't angels. We were something else. We were somewhere in there. We had different bodies. Still made of dust, as the Bible says. But have you ever seen dust floating in light? It's pretty amazing. So that's what's going on with our body's physiology. It actually encodes these deeper secrets of truth. We decoded a lot of that. It's called the Body Code series. We looked into the actual physiology and anatomy of the body. We found deeper truths that point back to God in the Bible. So, good question. Sorry, I can't. Some of you are asking really good questions, and I'm trying to see them all, but chat's going by really fast. Who cares if Trump allowed the movie to be made in his penthouse? You are really reaching. Okay, Lorena. Well, that's not the only movie that was filmed in his building, the Black Building, which, by the way, see, you guys only make me better, okay? Because the people that are gonna read your comment will understand this. Trump Tower floor plan. Also, The Dark Knight Rises, another very evil film, was also filmed in Trump Tower. And look at this. Look at Trump Tower's floor plan. Just so happens to be a triangular number, just like the number 666. Let me pull up the triangular number 666. There's much more to this. We can't cover it all in one show. And so the trolls bank on the fact that they can pick off people and create doubt, because I can't cover. We're decoding the devil's advocate. So obviously I've already covered this for many of you that have seen this. I've already covered this, but if you only see the decode, you're going to think this is an attack on Trump, and I'm stretching and reaching to make this all fit together. But in fact, there's so much more stuff, and when I try to put it all together in one show, the show could be 3 or 4 hours long. So, here is the Trump Tower footprint. It is a triangular number structure, the same as the triangular number 666. So I guess there's a logical explanation for that too. Roy Cohn helped Trump build Trump Tower. One of the most evil men who ever lived, Trump's mentor. He was there at the opening of Trump Tower, and he contracted with the mob because they were in control of concrete, which is a very expensive way to build a building. No one else was building concrete buildings because they had to deal with the mob. Everyone was building steel structures in the 1980s. But Trump chose to use mob concrete. Why? Because Roy Cohn helped him with the mob. This is all documented in the film Where's My Roy Cohn. Now, don't get caught up in the left-right paradigm. If you were to watch the documentary Where's My Roy Cohn, it is very left-leaning. Obviously, you hear me not talking about the left right here, but the trolls will want you to believe that I'm a left-wing nut, right? Wrong. The left is just as bad. They're worse. So, thanks for that. Now, that particular person left that comment. That's fine. They didn't do an ad hominem attack. They brought up a point, which I handled, so they get to stay. And they did it politely. So, those are the rules on this channel. All right. Never open your pineal gland. You're absolutely right. What else do we have here? Triangular numbers. Now, there are other triangular numbers, but 666 is the most notorious triangular number. So why would you have a building built into a triangular number when you know that 666 is what people think of when they think of a triangular number? Why would you do that? You wouldn't, unless you were someone who was exactly what we're saying they are after this decode. Now, there'll still be people stuck in the cult of personality. I get that. Look, all I could do is show you the information. That's all I can do. Okay. I think that's about it. Appreciate all the people that showed up. We'll be back here tomorrow. What are we decoding tomorrow? I can't even remember. But pretty much all week we're going to have these kinds of decodes. Hopefully all of you can make it. Much love to all of you. Take care and be safe, everyone. Have a great day.